Right. Hello.
Hey, we are live. I am on with Philip Lakin, and Philip and I actually connected in the social vibes through a Periscope. I think initially it was a Periscope video that you did, which appeared on
Yep.
Twitter, and then someone mentioned, I think at some mark, that you had mentioned Dubb, and then
Yeah.
I ended up watching your whole thing almost, and I was like so delighted by your experience. What was that like for you? That was the first time you were on Periscope, right?
Yeah. So, it's so interesting. So, first time on Periscope, I think I like messed with Periscope like, a long time ago when it first come out. And I, watch it here and there and, get like three or four people to watch it when I was just doing it. But I was like, I saw people going live on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, how are they going live on Twitter? And then I realized it was Periscope. So I've just been a big fan of I was never really into like long form writing. It was never really my thing, but video and audio always really made sense to me. And so I was like, oh yeah, I just am going to go live on Periscope, put it live on Twitter, and see if anyone wants to talk about B2B SaaS today. And I, and I
It
literally
turns
just
out people
posted
do. Yeah, that
oh my
was
God.
well, I mean, what I really appreciated about your talking about B2B SaaS was that you know a lot about the topic, and you're a big guy on Product Hunt, and which means so many things. It means you're an early adopter. It means you see stuff before a lot of other people. So that was really interesting from my perspective to just hear your voice and to learn from you. So that's why I wanted to chat with you. What has your experience been like being an early adopter and being on Product Hunt and just seeing stuff the way that you have?
Oh man. So for me, I've been on Product Hunt for a while now. I'm absolutely like, it's something I check almost every day, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I love it because for me, so, part of my job, literally my day job at Compass, right, is like the solutions architect for national ops, is to know about every single like internal tool that could ever be used, an internal tool that's coming out. Like literally, it's known that a part of my job is to be a walking product hunt for everybody at Compass, right? And so it's like, Phil, I need a tool for this, and then I can like make recommendations. So like, I genuinely just love learning about new tools. I love cross industry intelligence. It's so interesting for me to see, for instance, like what one area is doing, maybe in consumer, that it's like, oh, I can bring that over into B2B, or oh, that's interesting, right? So like mixing and matching. I'm a huge fan of like no and low code solutions. I
Hmm.
personally don't know how to code, and so being able to implement ideas into reality, both in like the startup world and the Compass world, without needing to code, has been huge for me. So I'm constantly learning about new ways to do things, new integrations, new ways to build. So yeah, Product Hunt's been like an amazing discovery vehicle for me. But to be really honest, Product Hunt is great and I love it. But do you know what is almost performing better for me than Product Hunt right now?
From
Almost, not
what
quite.
from what perspective? Performing in what
From a
perspective?
discovery standpoint. What would you
No.
guess?
I mean, Twitter is too obvious of an answer. It's probably something a
Sure.
little bit newish. I don't
Yeah.
know.
It's the opposite of new, right?
Okay.
It's Facebook
Oh, okay.
in two regards. So Facebook ads are phenomenal. In
Yeah.
fact, to me, Facebook is a bunch of like personal like stuff that I have to get through to get to the ads.
So you're
Yeah.
the guy that actually goes and searches for the ads. That's incredible.
Oh my
So
God, I
you're
literally search for them.
you're not going to be an adopter of, Apple's new browser or some of the open source
Gross.
browsers that
Take
that,
all
that
my
just
cookies. Yeah. Take it. Take it all. I like they're so good at recommending. Like I can't tell you the amount of times at Compass or like in like my side project where I've like looked like a rock star to people just because I knew a recommendation based on like what Facebook told me I should be looking at.
That's
It's like
incredible.
unreal.
So
Yeah,
I
I've
mean, I
brought
tend
companies
to
into RFPs because of Facebook ads.
I tend to agree with you on this because I don't mind targeting. I don't mind if advertising algorithms, Facebook, Google, YouTube, all the rest, are actually learning about me based on my behavior, what I like, and then serving me those
Yeah.
ads. Because guess what? I would rather get those ads than ads that are completely not meant for me, because at least I can be like, maybe I'd buy that product and maybe I'll watch it. And then by watching it, I'll kind of see what other people are doing for ads.
Oh, listen, if I'm going to be like, look, they say like, if you're not paying for the product, you're the product.
Yeah.
Right. So if I'm paying with my own information, at least like give me some relevant stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's really interesting. Well
so what I'll do on Facebook, it's like a fun trick that I do. So if I see something that I like on Facebook, right, or something that I find interesting, like a B2B SaaS product, right, I will like it, potentially comment on it, click through to whatever they're wanting me to click through to. So I basically am trying to train Facebook. I want more of this stuff.
That's affinity marketing. That's perfect. That makes total sense.
I'm literally playing Tinder with B2B SaaS ads.
Well, see, one of the things that I've always wondered is that why don't they make that process more transparent? Why does it have to be such a long-term discovery process from an algorithm perspective? Maybe I would fill out a nice little form that says, here's the stuff that I want to see and here's the stuff that I don't want to see.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, they have like a don't show me this anymore, I think.
They have the negative stuff, but like, what about the positive stuff? Like, I legitimately want to learn about SaaS software. So show me those ads.
Show me that stuff. You know what it is? I think they would never want to make it too much like that, because then they can't put stuff in your way that you specifically didn't ask about, right? Which is how they make a lot of money, right? So like for every 5 B2B SaaS ads I get like 1 garbage consumer product. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I actually, one of the things that I think about a lot is, you know, this idea of these affinity audiences from an advertising perspective, because at Dubb, we're always looking for sales professionals, marketing people that want to communicate with video, want to boost their B2B outreach, which is obviously what we're going to get into. And what is the other thing that they like to do? Do they buy BMWs? Do they like dark chocolate? Like, how else can I target them so that we're more intelligent? Because there's not always that perfect group that you can select. So I feel like that's one of the things I'd love to see happen more from an improvement perspective of figuring out what that master Venn diagram looks like.
Right. You know? Like, where are these people living and communicating and talking? And, you know, I will also say the other really big thing, speaking of like where those people live and like what they're doing, this also blew my mind. And this is this is like a really recent discovery of mine. This may be like, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks into understanding this. So LinkedIn groups, right? So I love LinkedIn. I'm a huge, you know, like if I'd say the 2 platforms, I'm probably the 3 platforms most active on, like LinkedIn, 2 most active, like LinkedIn, Twitter, right? But one product in Facebook beyond like the feed where I'm like getting all these ads, right? Which I love. I'm telling you, Facebook groups is the only place where the SaaS community lives.
You're so right.
It's so weird. Yeah. You'd think it'd be on LinkedIn, right? It's not. LinkedIn Group is a total failure, right? In my opinion.
Totally.
Right. Just totally shot the bed, right? Like, you know, but Facebook groups, oh my God.
It's amazing.
So I've got more leads from just going into Facebook groups and being like, hey, here's my Calendly. If anyone wants to talk to me about like anything in the no-code world or automation or B2B SaaS, just put time in my calendar. And like literally have nothing to sell you. I just like want to talk to you. And I genuinely have like nothing to sell most of the time. Yeah, I'm just like, and in fact, like I just want to help people learn no code, you know? And
you're so right.
Unbelievable. There's so many SaaS people in Facebook groups. It's unreal.
You know, when man, you're spot on. I feel like when Facebook made that choice of we're going to go into groups and we're going to go into video, I feel like it was this like double-headed dragon, and it was this 2-pronged approach where they wanted the best of all worlds, because that's of course Facebook. They wanted to exploit people's mind share and get as much noise out there and just put those silly videos on watch. You know, they're so bad now. Some of those videos on watch, I'm like, because I'll never get that 2 minutes back.
They're optimized. You're right. They're optimized for like viral trash, right?
It's crazy, you know? Viral trash. And then the groups is like-minded people. And then if you are in the right group, if you are in that SaaS discovery group or digital marketing,
oh my God.
Or, you know,
I've learned so much and met so many people. But you guys have like a group. And
we have a group. Dubb has its own group. And it's
Yeah.
honestly one of our best channels out there. And the reason why that's the case is because there's a code of conduct, I think, in groups now in Facebook. By now, people kind of know
Yep.
what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do in a Facebook group. And one of the things that you can't do is bother people, be too super salesy. You have to be educational. And that has just helped everyone because of that inherent, sort of like code structure. I think we all benefit from that. So that's
Well, it's
why
also
I love
tied
it.
to you as a human, right?
Yeah.
It's not like where you're creating a burner Reddit account and be like, please buy my stuff, right? Like,
Right. Right.
It's you. And I think there is that code of conduct on groups where it's like, you're not going to get much by just like posting a link, being like, hey, please use my thing. Like you have to be adding to conversations. And, the reason that like people who are selling stuff in B2B are talking to people, whose job it is to do outreach, right? And be social and be like community managers or whatever it is. The lack of people's willingness to just like talk to people in conversations, as opposed to just like posting and trying to honeypot people too, is like also mind blowing to me. Like one of my do is just to go into these groups, just answer people's questions. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It's huge. Or go on Twitter and just add my 2 cents. You know what I mean? To different things, right? It doesn't cost anything.
Why is it that in B2B outreach, why is it that people are still hung up on this idea of like going for the kill? Like I'm going to go to you, Phil, on LinkedIn, and I'm going to try to sell you something right in that first connection request. Why are people still doing that and not doing what you just mentioned? Laziness.
It's lazy. It's just laziness. It's just spraying and praying. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just like, and yeah, like you can send an email to 100 people, and you can be hitting some BS KPI or whatever. I have to send 100 cold emails or whatever. But like, there's a VC down here, Daly. I'm forgetting his last name. He's amazing. He just put on Twitter the other day. He was just like, cold outreach emails work, if they're personalized. Like I've responded to every personalized cold outreach email I've ever received, and it's
I read that.
Yeah,
tweet,
right. So that it's so funny.
There was a qualifier
he's
in
the
what
husband of Cat Cole. That's like who he is to me. It's like so funny. Because like Cat Cole's like this like mega superstar in Atlanta of like everything business and operations. And like that's her husband. So like it's like Daly, who's Kat's husband. That's who
that's a trip. Yeah.
He would say the same thing, by the way. On our first call, he's like, oh, I totally married up. And I'm like, oh yeah, she's a rock star.
That's really cool. I respect a venture capitalist that puts their email address out there on their bio, on their website, on their Twitter profile, and that legitimately responds to people. And by responding, it doesn't mean that you have to say, let's talk for the rest of eternity. It can be like, this is not a good fit. I'm sorry. You don't have the traction. You don't have the social proof. You don't have the revenue. That's totally cool. But just to get a response, that's next level. And I'd say only about 2% of them do that.
No, it's so big. And I think part of my goal is like I'm growing and evolving in like the SaaS community, right? Is I never want to be fully locked away from an open general audience. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I spend like an hour to 2 every single day, like Monday through Friday, like every single day, talking to like B2B SaaS founders, random people who want to talk about no code from the internet, like just people who want to talk about the stuff that I like, that I think I can add value to. I just make appointments and talk to people.
Right.
And with no goal in mind.
Right. Well, that's the best part because
people be like, what? So what are you like? And I'm like, I always tell them the same thing. I'm like, listen, at the end of the day, I'm probably going to spend an hour a day talking about no code. My wife's tired of hearing me talk about it. So really, I'm going to talk about with someone who wants to hear it, or
or she has to hear it at the dinner table.
So there's no like putting stuff out there, like being personalized and like looking to add value, looking to help people, right? Is so much more powerful. Like one of the books that shaped like the whole way I see sales and all this stuff was like a book I've read very early on in my career called Go Givers Sell More, right? Not Go Getters, right? And like, it's so interesting. Like just by like going and making the kind of every little Facebook group, every interaction, like what am I adding? What am I bringing to the table? Right. The thing is, when I truly need something, it'll appear, it'll be there. But in the, like, what guard am I cultivating by the day that, like, when I actually need something, if I do, I can just ask, right? And it's just there. Right.
Well, you know when that becomes really relevant is when you find yourself looking for a job and you realize for the last 12 months you didn't do any networking and all you did was you were heads down, you were selling, you were behind closed doors, you were not giving value. And then when you need it, you're like, no one cares.
No one cares. And like, I also think that that's like the power that we're going to see in like this economy where it's like more competitive than ever for people to get jobs is going to be the power of personal brand is going to be massive for people.
Yeah.
Massive. The brand, and I think the companies that support people who build personal brands are also going to be, get higher levels of talent than brands that don't.
Well, there's a certain corporate vulnerability that has to happen at that point, because when the inherent idea of a personal brand is a person that's getting themselves out there, they're being potentially courted for another gig, you have to be vulnerable.
Right.
But I agree with you that level of confidence is what ultimately is going to acquire knowledge and network and resources and more talent. If I were to come want to work for Compass, I'd be like, I want to work for Phil because I vibe with Phil and he's the reason why I'm here. It's not because of the company. It's not because of the tech. It's because of the person,
Oh, and people have literally reached out. Like when I go every year back to my college, right, to help like with the entrepreneur department. Like we do like a Shark Tank competition. We like speak to students in like small classroom settings, right? And I can't tell you how much recruitment I've done for Compass through that. Just by people being like, well, where do you work? What do you do? That's like I must have I think 10, 15 people, right? Just for, like applying to Compass through that, right? So it's just being a good member of the community and be willing to put stuff out there, hosting hackathons, doing talks and lectures and joining panels. And, I think the other mistake that I made for a really long time was I always thought I had to be like some massive expert to just like get out there and start speaking about stuff. And like, that was so false. In fact, more people were attracted to what I had to talk about because I'm just like a guy in the weeds. Like I'm just figuring shit out. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that was interesting to people because I was maybe only 2 steps ahead of them as opposed to 50,
Well, I love that because it's your perspective and it's watching you in the process, discovering and learning something. And that's why I enjoyed watching that Periscope, which was a long video. That thing was like, I don't know, 40 minutes or something.
I didn't realize how long it was until I was like, oh, wow, I just talked by myself. Random interruptions.
I was like, this guy is just going on it. I'm like, this is really interesting. It's like it's so much more interesting to watch someone's perspective, learning, being a part of the process, and to get their notes on it than a person saying, okay, guys, today we're going to learn how to make LaCroix at home, like I just love the perspective, I love that. So shout out to you actually for dropping that type of content. Please keep doing it, man, because
yes.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, I will. One of the things I was going to say is, YouTube, like the Phil channel, like where is it? Is it there? Are you doing it?
It's going to happen. I've been experimenting with like what I want to talk about in like smaller ways. So like the live stuff has been good. I've been like playing around with this idea of so I'm like a huge like demo nerd. Like the best call of my day is a vendor demo. You know what I mean? Like I love it. I'm such a glutton for pain. You know what I mean?
You're like an advertiser's dream. He loves ads on Facebook. He loves demos. That's like a funnel.
Every cold email. Do you know what I mean? Because I want to know what I don't know. How do
you respond to a cold email? What do you say? Like if you're genuinely not interested.
Dude, sometimes they don't even reply because they're like, this can't be real.
So what are the good good, how do you write a good cold email?
It's a good. So, first suggestion that I've learned is don't write a cold email. And I know that might sound counterintuitive, but let me explain. So, first, I write cold email, then I write cold email. So, what I mean by that is I think a lot in my day, right, about noise to signal communication, right? It's just, I think about it constantly at Compass. I think about it at Propulsion Lab, right? I'm thinking about that stuff all of the time, right? I'll give you some examples, right? And then you'll see where I'm going to in terms of cold email stuff. So one thing we realized at Compass a while back, right, was we'd have these huge operational updates, and we have like a huge, operational team, right, that's spread out, decentralized across all of the U.S., right?
Okay.
And this is when I was working mainly in agent experience. Now I work with all of national ops, but this one I was mainly focused on the agent experience team, right? And so we would send these emails with all of these long laundry list of updates, right? But we'd have no clue if people were reading them. If people were open, you could put an open tracker, but we weren't doing that, right? But even if you open it, you don't know if they actually read it or just like clicked through it, right? And we don't know if they had questions on it. And if they did, they would just reply, and they would be the only person that you'd reply directly back to them. And you don't know if they complied against it, right? If they're like complying against that new update or change. Those are all like major problems, right?
Right.
So what I wanted to do is I was like, okay, well, we have Workplace by Facebook. It's an intranet. I can make a post, and like I guess people could like it. Maybe I could do something in Slack, and I know there's like noise signal stuff you could post in Slack and whatever. But I wanted to do something that literally was two things. It was one, in their workflow, meaning that they didn't have to go somewhere new to see this thing. They didn't have to open an email. They didn't have to, do you know what I mean? It's in their workflow, and that is reads as like more important, more significant than just like an email, right? And so I found this company that was like really, really new at the time. We were one of their very first clients. They were called Same Tab.
Okay.
Pulse.so is what they've rebranded us. Phenomenal company. Long story short, they built you like a lightweight intranet for just like posts, right? Like that you can subscribe to in the new Chrome browser window. So when you press a new window, it's that. So everyone creates new windows all day long. So now the posts can live there, and people can mark them as read, right? And comment on them.
And this is only internally?
Only internally.
Got it.
Yeah. So we can see who has marked them as read. It automatically sends out notifications if you don't read it. We can see like what regions are complying the most against it, and everything. It was huge for us, right? So I'm always thinking about, okay, how do I move noise to signal when it's important stuff? So when I think about cold email, right, the thing is, when you're looking at your screen and you're in your email inbox, okay, everything is text, maybe some emojis, right? But for the most part, it's all text, just walls of text, right? But the second I get like a GIF in an email, right, and especially one that's like, it's a personalized video for me, I'm clicking on that thing, right? I want to see what that's about, right? And this is to me like where I got into. So the first way I found out about the world of like videos in email, so I found out about BombBomb, right? One of your guys' competitors, right? I just thought it was so ridiculous that like you can only use it for a certain amount of time, then it cuts you off. Plus their Chrome extension like crashed on me like a whole bunch, right? Which I was like, this is a huge company. How is this thing good? Maybe it was my browser saying maybe, I don't know. Just to me, it didn't work as natively, as intuitively as I wanted it to be. And after a certain amount of time, I couldn't use it anymore for free. And I'm glad to pay for a product, right, if I really need like higher level features. So I literally just Googled, right, which is the phrase I always Google, right, like, get, BombBomb alternative free, something like that. And I came across a few, and some were really, much, much newer products, a little bit less mature. And then came across Dubb. And honestly, I have been such a nerd for you guys. I recommend you guys all over the place. I love that in my LinkedIn Messenger directly, I can use, I could put a Dubb video in there. It makes it so easy. So yeah, my response rates when I send a Dubb video are much higher than when I just send a wall of text to somebody. And for me, by the way, as someone who communicates better like this than I do over the written word, it's actually not even, it takes me less time. It's easier and it gets a higher, ROI.
Yeah. So here's a question for you, follow-up question. And someone said this to me, and it was like probably the definition of a complisalt, because they said,
let's hear it.
They said, when this becomes really big and people are using this for all their email and all their messaging and LinkedIn, and then it becomes a gimmick and then it doesn't work anymore, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know how to answer that. And I was like, okay, well, let me think about that. Let me put my ego aside. I don't want to be defensive. I want to really think about like what this person is saying. Like, is video communication a gimmick? Is a live video like this, or a Zoom call, or a video email, or a video in a LinkedIn is like a gimmick? Or eventually is it just going to become the new method? And what is your take on that?
I don't think I think gimmick is implying a negative context that it doesn't need or require, right? Like gimmick feels like fake, fraudulent, a trick, right? It's not, right? Now, yes, as things become, so first email was, of course, like really, really huge, right? But, and LinkedIn inbox. But now that things like Phantom Buster are a thing, like LinkedIn ads are slowly starting to become like bullshit, right? And I love Phantom Buster, but I hate getting Phantom busted by people.
What is Phantom Buster?
So it's a way with LinkedIn to automatically connect with people.
Okay.
Messages and like do all these automations with LinkedIn. Like, it's a way to like send, you can like do a whole ton with it. But like, long story short, if you have like so here's like a typical workflow that you can use. Here's like a typical stack with like Phantom Buster, something like data enrichment, like Clearbit or People Data Labs. And then, so Sales Navigator, Phantom Buster, data enrichment, and I think maybe like Zapier. But you can basically use those tools to do something like this. And like, Facebook ads, right? You can say, Sales Navigator, find me a list of people who I would target, right? Then, Phantom Buster, reference that list, add 100 of those people a day with this type of message for this type of audience, right? So ops people, this, all right? Add those people, right? If they accept, send them a second message, right? And add them to pay for the data enrichment on them, get their personal email, right? Then add them to my custom targeted list on Facebook, right? So all of a sudden, someone on their end, the narrative will look like, wow, Phil reached out, added me on LinkedIn, and now I'm seeing Propulsion Lab Facebook ads.
and some guys just sitting some guys just sitting in a jacuzzi with a beer and just like getting rich.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Someone's making so much money off every step of that thing, right? So long story short, right? Like, so people like that is like definitely happening, right? But look, all that to say, there are different modes of things. So SMS, right? Like SMS was huge and still is because like SMS got 97% read rate in the first 3 minutes, right? It's insane, right? Yeah. So certain browser notifications are a big thing, of course, now, right? Like, on desktop browser notifications, people are always trying to find a way to be where everything's not. And email is just so buried. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So just because there's let's just call it like, just because there's a new frontier, it doesn't mean that it's a gimmick. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It just means that, might it become the normal? Yeah, sure. But to a degree, I don't think that it will completely. Because I just think people are default to lazy. Do you know what I mean? With this stuff, with sales outreach. And the people who are amazing at it, by the way, if it's not video in 10 years from now, the people who are amazing at this shit will figure out what the next thing is and do that also. Right?
Right.
But video is powerful.
Now, here's a question for you. Okay, so this idea of laziness has come up a couple of times, and I agree with you. At the end of the day, I think you're spot on. But I think that
Oh, by the way, I
lazy.
only call it laziness because I've been super lazy myself in sales earlier in my career.
Okay,
So I talk about it from experience.
right, and I've been there as well. I totally agree with you. But at some point, don't we learn from our laziness and say my laziness is actually not getting me what I want. It's not bringing me anything. And actually, I'm
Right.
having to work a lot harder being lazy. Like if I'm lazy on the
Right.
sofa and I'm watching TV, I'm getting entertainment, right? I'm
Right.
getting something. But with lazy sales outreach, I feel like the results are not there. That's the problem, you
No,
know?
they're not. And by the way, laziness is also really fucking expensive. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just so expensive to be lazy because what that means is here's the lazy thing. Let's pour more, let's blow the crap out of our CAC, right? And just like do more Facebook ads. In the digital age that we're in right now, getting a lead is the most expensive it has ever been. Like, look at the click on
Yeah.
on a LinkedIn ad. It's disgusting. Do
Right.
you know what I mean?
Right.
Right? Even Facebook, right? Twitter, like they will just swallow your money whole, right? Unless you're like really effective at like doing it well, and that takes a lot of time and effort. And shit, then you just got to go hire an agency, which is like even more money, right? So the thing is what I always think about is. Here's what I mean by not being lazy when it comes to sales, right? And like, we have all these forms of currency that like we
Right.
don't spend, right?
Right.
So for me, here are my forms of currency, right? Like, I have a huge brand that I work at Compass, right? So people want to know more about kind of what I do there. I know it's kind of about no code stuff. People want help with that stuff all of the time. I get a lot of joy talking to early stage entrepreneurs where a lot of people might just get frustrated or annoyed. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I love hearing like what they're working on and how I can help. These are all forms of currency that I have. Being able, like, I love being on video with people. I love audio types of communication, right? Like, these are forms of currency that I have that I'm always willing to spend, right? And so when it comes to outreach, right, I'm not just like spending a crap ton on like Facebook ads or buying a list of emails, like emailing everyone and hope they come to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm constantly having conversations with people, and just stuff comes out of that. I don't
And
know.
that's the future. And that to me is the future of B2B. I think what you just said summed it up. It's the conversations. It's
Right,
conversational marketing, you know?
right. Conversational marketing, right? Like, one of my favorite new conversion pages, like landing pages, and it's a brand new company. It's out of India. I think it's awesome. It's called Reach.at, right?
Okay.
All this thing does is, so we've now, talking of signal to noise, right? We're all used to seeing, remember like the first like 3-4 days, like intercom came out, you know what I mean? And you know what I'm talking about, right? Like,
We
it was like
used it and I've been trying to get off it. I love intercom, but I feel like I'm dependent on it.
oh yeah. But like, do you know what I'm talking about? There was like 3-4 days in the internet, in the history of the internet, right? Where all of a sudden everybody had intercom. It was like when I was a waiter, it's like there was like 3-4 days I distinctly remember where everybody was asking for Tito's. Like, I'd never heard of this thing before.
Right.
Right? So intercom was like the Tito's effect for me. Like, it was like all of a sudden every site had that little chat icon. And at first it was kind of cool. But now it's kind of like you're, over it, right? Like you almost ignore it, right, for the most part. So Reach.at solved this, right, by saying, here's your landing page. It's literally just a picture of me or my brand or whatever on like a quarter of the screen, and 3/4 of the screen is just a chat UI to convert.
So it's just a big column.
Just a big column, and it goes, hi, click what you want to learn more about. You click it. Great. Here's more about this. What's your first name? Bill. Great. It's literally collecting your data, right? And having a conversation with you.
Nice. Yeah, the bot world is blown up.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And bot to human handoff is huge too, I think. But so all that to say, like, I think that yes, You're totally dead on. Conversational stuff is the future of like B2B sales for sure, right? And look, I say that so just like I said earlier, pouring money into the top of the funnel is so expensive. All of the people that you've already begun conversations with,
right.
touch points. Oh my, there's so much money just like waiting to be had and so much value ready to be gained. Do you know what I mean? Like it's unbelievable. Like here's my biggest pet peeve is an account executive that only calls you when the contract's about to be up. You know what I mean?
Right.
Terrible, right?
That's the antithesis of what they should be doing. That's a relationship role, right?
Right. Yeah. What's going on? You know, any product ideas you've been having? Can I connect you with any other clients that we have? Like, where's the conversation, right? Because, by the way, growth equals retention, right? Part of the sale is not only getting the sale, it's
right.
Ship.
Exactly.
It's, how do I get this person to renew a year before they need to renew?
Right.
6 months, you know what I mean?
So laziness is a problem. I think another problem is lack of fun. If something is not fun, it doesn't get done, right?
I know. And making it fun for you as like the person that's doing outreach is so important. Like if you enjoy the written word, you know what I mean? Like find how to lean into that. You know what I mean?
Right. And here's how I kind of solve that problem for myself. That fun problem. Because if it's not fun for me, it's difficult to actually do it. What made it fun for me, yeah, it is. What made it fun for me though is the conversations. It's like legitimately learning about people and like legitimate curiosity, you know, and what people are up to and what they're doing in their lives, what makes them tick. I was like at level 3 in terms of curiosity, you know, in my career, you know, years ago. And I started to notice that the more curiosity I turned up, the more interested I would become, and maybe as a result, interesting. But most people stop at that, hey, where did you go to school? How's the weather? Right? Now, I don't know what people are talking about. I don't know if people even ask, where do you live? Because what does it even matter, like, where I live? I mean, it's just like a name. We all live in the digital, you know. I live in the interwebs, right? But, you know, whatever that sort of light talk is I think where people get stuck. And my best conversations, my best sales, my best friends, my best relationships, everything is where I didn't talk about the product and I didn't talk about the sale and I didn't talk about this. I just legitimately had a conversation like this. And that's what I'm going to keep doing because guess what? It's more fun.
It's more fun for me at the end, and now it's more effective. Like for me, it's more fun, right? Like I have awesome conversations with people about SaaS all day long. I'm like talking to founders all day long about like what they're doing. You know, like when I'm like, you know, interviewing people who are like we're bringing in for Compass to do stuff. And I'm, you know, nights and weekends when I'm like talking about Propulsion Lab stuff, right? Like I'm just genuinely so curious, and that's part of what like drives me to like look at, you know, Product Hunt all the time. Is it drives me to like want to meet every like B2B SaaS founder and like talk to them and about what they're doing and like what gets them excited. And yeah, like just getting to know people, right? Because at the end of the day, you're doing business with people, right? Like product breaks, you got to talk to somebody. You need support, you got to talk to somebody, right? Like you need help, you got to talk to somebody. You know, so you know the product was built by somebody, right? Like you're doing relationship with people, whether it's the amplification of those people through the extension of the product or whatever. Like you're doing business with people, and sometimes relationships are so impactful. Like, I'll give you an example. We have at Compass such a good relationship with Enboarder, which is so we use Enboarder to onboard all of our agents across the country. It's our single platform for onboarding, mainly driven through SMS or email, agents preference, right? We say it's like a drip campaign. It's like a way to onboard new employees, but we use it for our agents to onboard new agents, right? It's been huge for us in like the virtual onboarding world with COVID, right? If you literally came to by the way, it's not just me. If you came to my leadership team at Compass, right, and told us there was a little bit better of a product for a little bit less money, we probably wouldn't even go over. We wouldn't even switch.
Right.
Because our relationship with Mborder has been so phenomenal. They've built features for us. They've included us in major discussions. They've had us speak on panels. Like, we've been covered in the news with them. Like, we have such an phenomenal, like, we talk to our technical CSM every single week. We have a standing 1 hour meeting. Like, talking about another technical CSM you have a standing 1 hour meeting with. Do you know what I mean?
Right. And that's where they listen and say, we want to build this and we want to provide the support.
Yeah. Their CEO literally, I talk to him maybe once every half year about just like what's going on and where you know what I mean? When they're raising new rounds, they have their investors literally call us, right? Like, it's like we have such a good relationship with them, and they've literally, if I were to say like one of the major reasons I got promoted at Compass was probably because of like the work that I had done with that company. Like, I was literally talking to like one of our regional presidents, one of our like bi-coastal presidents today, and he's just like, like the biggest fan of Mborder. Like, everybody knows it, on our ops team,
Well, I think that's so interesting because I know Compass pretty well. Being in Los Angeles, I've seen the sign around a lot. I have a wife that's in real estate, so she works for Keller Williams, and Compass has done something that very few companies have been able to do at the growth rate that they've done it. It's pretty remarkable. And it's so rooted from my perspective, it's so rooted in brand, in customer experience, in, technology, changing the way that something that is such an old industry is done. And it's phenomenal. Right. And I always think, I've always actually thought that. So it's really interesting that you brought this up, is how do you bestow all that information upon someone? Because I think one of the biggest problems with people with experience is that they come with quote unquote bad habits, right? And I say bad habits with air quotes because sometimes they're not always bad habits. Sometimes they're good habits. But if a company has invented a new model, they want people to adopt it, like video, like real estate agents using video for sales outreach and for cold, warm, and just kind of communication. Some people love it. Some people don't even know what it is. I've never heard of someone hating it. It's just either you love it or you haven't adopted it.
Internal tooling at Compass around like we have like a video messages thing. Like, we have this whole suite of tools called like virtual agent services, right? Where we're helping agents with all of this stuff, everything from like virtual tours and like video, email. Like, we're doing a lot of this stuff within our product, right? And like it's like, look, at the end of the day, right? Like, so me and my wife are literally going through the process of buying a house right now, right? Nice. Like, starting to like look at homes and all of that stuff. And I could and of course using a Compass agent, right? And I gotta tell you, I would never do this process without a human.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
The industry is not going to get fully disrupted where it's like, oh, I'm going to buy a home today on the internet. Let me pull out my credit card.
There's no shot for a certain class of homes. Sure. Right. For like for investors buying homes, as investments, for like maybe, homes like a certain range. Sure. If, situationally, sure. But like, I got to tell you, this is like our first time buying a home. Like, we've maybe looked at like 20 homes. Do you know what I mean? Like, in person. Right. And like having our trusted advisor as a human there with us, who we really trust to like bring us up to speed on things. And like that conversation, that relationship we have with him. So here's the thing. I'll give you an example, right? If, a home costs a little bit more, right? But I knew that I could work with my real estate agent that we have at Compass, right? By the way, David Basco, if you're ever looking in Atlanta, it's a beast.
Shout out to David Basco.
Shout out to David Basco. So like, I wouldn't even go with him because the relationship we have with David is so huge, right? Like, he knows us. So like, we have like this personal setup with David that's so funny. Like, you can't make this up. So I have a huge anxiety around moving. I hate it. You know what I mean? I like have this, like, I have to know where I'm going to live. Do you know what I mean? Like, moving for me is like very, very, like when I was living in New York, when I moved from Manhattan to Queens, I was literally in like a huge slump, like for a while. Like, I literally couldn't find my groove. So when I moved to Atlanta, it was like it took a lot out of me for a little while, right? So the thought of moving, the idea of moving, I just like need to know stability wise where I'm going to live. It's like I don't know. I have a hard time with like that physical type of change, right?
Right.
So when I was seeing houses, even if they were like 70% yes, I'd be like, this is the house. Let's put in. You know
I brought my toothbrush.
Let's go. I'm moving in. Yeah. Like, where's the cat? Let's go.
Right.
Can we sleep over?
Right. And so so let me ask you this. If you were ever overly gung-ho about moving there, did he ever say, you know what, not so much, it's too close to that freeway, or, you know, the pool's a little this, or did he ever do that?
So he would do that. He'd be
and
like,
that's a sign of a good agent, in my opinion.
Right.
That tells you not to buy the house.
No, he'd be like, Phil, you know, let's keep looking, right? So now what we do, and I literally can't even make this up. So I've found that weakness in me, right? And I've acknowledged it. So now what we do is if we're looking at like houses for the first time, my wife goes to see the apartment first with David. I don't even go.
Nice.
And only if it's really an option on the second visit do I go.
There you go. You're a second touch point. Okay. Correct.
Okay. But like you don't get that with a not human. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And so I don't know. Like that's where like our CEO is just such a genius. You know, at the end of the day, like he is like everything you think he would be. Like Robert, like he is just incredible. And he made a huge bet, right? Robert made a huge bet that the relationship is going to be the most important thing, and that humans assisted by technology is where the future is going when it comes to the biggest purchase in people's lives, right?
Right.
And the humans will not be fully ever automated out of the process. And it's only proving more and more right every single year that Compass is around. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that makes total sense to me. Yeah.
So, and it comes right back to this, right? I is someone who had never bought a house before. And it's the same thing with like B2B SaaS, right? Let's compare the two, right? It's a major purchase. It's typically time bound. You typically have a lot of vested stakeholders like your family, right? And if you make a decision, it's at minimum like a year, 5, 10, 50-year decision. They're 30 years, right? Like it's a big decision. Right. You're getting married on a third date, whether it's like a B2B RFP or whether it's like a house, right?
Right.
And having a person involved in that transaction, I just think is huge, right? And when real estate, you know, like, so yeah, I think when it comes to the personal touch of things, I think we talked about this earlier, like best post-purchase experience I ever had was when I bought a sticker to support like COVID-19 response efforts.
All right, let's hear this. I want to hear this one.
Yeah. So I bought a sticker on product. I bought 2 stickers actually on product.
Okay.
Bought 2 stickers on Product Hunt. I get them in the mail. I'm like, I love these things, right? In fact, hold on. Let's see. I think I might actually have it right here. Yeah, check this out. So cool. I love them so much I refuse to stick them on stuff yet because I'm like, it's got to be special.
Oh, nice. It's the lo-fi cat. Nice.
So lo-fi cat and the P, right? Okay. So love Product Hunt, right? So I get the stickers, okay? And then I get an email saying you have a video message from Product Hunt, right? I'm like, what? So I open up the video message, and it's a personalized message from his cell phone from Ryan Hoover to me, Phil, thanking me for specifically buying these 2 stickers, right? And then telling me the history behind how they came up with that cat logo, right? Just being like, yeah, it's 9 a.m. on, you know, LA on like a weekday here, just like call and say, hey, Phil, thank you so much. I'm like, what? Right at the time of his day to like, what?
Right.
You know? Like, those are the things you remember.
Yeah.
When I was debating job offers and Robert Refkin called me on my cell phone just out of the blue, you know? Like, I was going with Compass. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, those are the things that we remember. So to bring back to some of the stuff we were talking about earlier, when you're in somebody's inbox is the one video they received, a personalized video ever, first time, ever in the first, like, you know, maybe even 6, 4, 5 months, right? It's not that it's a gimmick. It's that you're showing someone in a brand activation who you are and how you think, right? You're saying, you're so important to me, it's not good enough to just send you a blanketed thing. You're not cheap to me, right? You are valuable to me. I'm going to spend some time looking and reading about you and learning about you, right? And making a personalized video of like why I should have the honor and opportunity to be able to start a conversation with you. That's powerful.
That's it, man. That's it. Mic drop. Mic drop. I think about this a lot, and I think that the unlock here, is curiosity and vulnerability, and it is something that I see in kids more so than I see in adults, which is probably an obvious.
What do you mean? Like, how do you like? Yeah, can you talk more about that?
Yeah, so I think that when kids see a puddle of water, they want to jump into it, they want to splash it, they want to see what happens, and they could get completely dosed in water and fully enjoy that experience, even though they're completely dosed, and they have to now take a shower and change their clothes, because we are trained to be rooted in fear and repercussion. If we do X, then Y happens, right?
Lizard brain,
Right? Yeah. And it's a survival thing, which is, good to a certain extent. But what happens, I think, to us in business and just in our adult lives is that we become scared to take risks, and we become scared to see what happens if we do something where we put ourselves out there, where we make ourselves vulnerable, where we thank someone, where we make that personalization. Because when you do that, you're putting yourself out, and you're taking a little micro risk.
You're investing, right? Yeah. And if you invest in something and you feel like it doesn't yield back, you feel either judged or a failure. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I think that the solution is not...
Laziness is just safe. Maybe it's the wording there, right? It's like just playing it safe.
Yes, yes. It's playing it safe. And I think the solution for this is to not be worried about the results and to just love the process. And if we love that process, you know what? We're impervious. We're like bulletproof. We're bulletproof.
Seriously. One of the best realizations I ever had, and like ever in life, period, hands down. You have those moments where you just realize a thought for the first time and it hits you and you're like, whoa. It's like a shifting moment, right? One of the biggest shifting moments for me is when I realized the sentence, I am not going to be for everybody, and everybody is not going to be for me. Even at my best self, I am truly not going to be for everybody, and everybody's not going to be for me. And I take that in business. I take that in sales. I take that in, friendships. I take that everywhere with me to this day. Because like there's some people at my job in marketing stuff and like doing proposal lab stuff. Like there's some people or companies or like whatever, like where we are just not going to be a match. And like sometimes I have to do business with those people. I just keep it, keep it simple. Right. But like, I'm not going to be everybody. Like I am not everybody's cup of tea. I'm a lot of energy. I have a lot of fun. I'm not like, super analytical spreadsheet dude. You know what I mean? Like I don't talk in data, I still rely on my intuition to a certain degree. Do you know what I mean? Like I love data, but I'm not like owned by it. Like I curse, you know what I mean? Like these are I'm just at the end of the day, like this is who I am. And I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Right. And that's okay. And it's like the same thing. Look, my first job in sales and talk about being a glutton for pain. My first job in sales was I sold comedy club tickets in Times Square.
I know that position well. And I've not only have I bought tickets for them, but I've had lengthy conversations with some of those people. Yeah, that's awesome.
And and no matter what you want to say about these dudes, right? Because look, various levels of quality for sure. Like any sales job, it's just a lot more public, right? But let me tell you, first of all, I have friends all over the world from doing that job. It's like incredible, right? and it supported me as I was an actor in New York for like the first couple years of my career. It's all I did, right?
And did you do stand up?
Yeah, I used to do stand up for a bit. I had like a few months, like maybe like I don't know, a few months, like maybe like a year where I did stand up. And talk about being vulnerable. Like,
yes.
You want a video that doesn't get rejected, doesn't get rejected by a sales lead. Try like writing a joke that doesn't get a laugh.
Right. And that's actually, I want to get into that for a second, because that's actually one of my biggest suggestions to people, which is not going to happen now, but everyone should do stand up, even if you're not a comedian, to get up there and to realize what it actually feels like.
It is so difficult. And so like I have so much respect. Every laugh that a comedian gets, I'm just like, hats off.
And it's like 3 minutes when you're a newbie, because I did it once at Laugh Factory, and it was like 2 minutes that felt like 2 hours.
A month to write 3 good minutes.
Yeah.
When you're starting, right? Even still, right? It's unreal. So I would like doing like that sales stuff in Times Square, right? It taught me so much about sales. I learned so much about sales from that one job, right? I learned it's my job to most efficiently and as politely find the people that want this thing, right? And so if I have to ask 3,000 people in a day if they want to go to a stand-up comedy show, or if they're interested, in seeing our, showcase, right? I'm just going to look for my buying signals and then do only a second or third push of like, another thing for like the signals that I get, right? And so, like I just learned to like eat rejection. Like it doesn't feel like rejection to me, right? It just feels like, okay, we're not a fit. It's cool. Next.
And at what point did you realize in that job that it was you that people were buying? It was not the flyer. It was not the people that maybe they've never heard of.
So maybe about like, maybe like a half a year in,
And that was just an unlock for you, right? You're like, it's just me. Like, I got to just be a friend.
Huge. I realized there was things that I had to do to get someone to stop. Dude, talk about a whole sales cycle. Okay, imagine someone gives you paper, okay, pieces of paper, right? At the time, by the way, there's no laws about stuff. There's no IDs, right, or anything, right? Here's some paper. Here's like maybe.
And when you say IDs, you mean what do you mean by that?
Now in Times Square, you have to get like a license.
Oh, you have to get a permit.
Tickets, which I have like somewhere. I have one because like I did it for a while towards the end of my, at one point, like because winters were just always a great time to do it. So sometimes even if I was working, I'm like go out and sell tickets because it's just a lucrative business. But I would how do you say? So when it started, there was no licenseship, right? So you'd have like a little fake name badge with like that was laminated, paper tickets, like tickets, right? We didn't take credit card back in the day when I started doing this thing, right? So literally, go to Times Square, talk to tourists. You have 5 minutes to get them to give you cash,
right,
for something they've never heard of. You know what I mean? So talk about like getting a lead, warming them up. Objection handling, closing, all in about 5 minutes with someone you've never met before.
And you know what's really interesting, which I just realized this, is that you need to know where you're going to live. You need to know where your spot is, where your house is. That makes sense to me. Yeah. People, tourists, they need to know where they're going at 9 p.m. at night. And traveling and not knowing what you're going to do that brings people anxiety. So locking in on something and like buying that like security, whether you're going to go or not, it's a satisfaction element,
Oh, huge. And not only that, right? It was, look, New York's known for 3 things, right? Like sports, theater, comedy. Comedy is one of our biggest things. We have shows every night at 9 and 11, right? You can go any night you want. This is a flexible ticket. As long as you call before 7 p.m., you're getting a reservation. Look, you're going to go out and drink one night. Why not do it and see some, awesome comedians, right? Like I knew all, you know what I mean? Like I knew all the things that they were feeling and knew how to talk to them, right? Because when you're in a new city and like if you're walking around Times Square, you're right telling me like 10 different things, right? You don't like it's either your first day or your last day, right?
And if you're the guy doing this with the flyers, it's probably your last day.
Just like it's your first day I was visiting. So like I just, and look, I loved it. Like I said, I still have friends to this day around the world that I met doing that job. And I just learned so much, like how much it was about me and how much it was about the conversation and how much it was about, like how much validation stuff you had to do. And, I knew like even when the badges were like, whatever, I was like, this isn't good enough. I literally went on Canva and designed my own badge that was like better. Right. I went eventually out and got like Square on my phone so I could start taking credit cards. Right. I did all that stuff. And, I take a lot of that stuff with me today, not only for when I'm doing like B2B sales stuff, where I'm like talking to all these like new B2B SaaS startups for Propulsion Lab, right? But also like when I'm in Compass, like I've got a lot of internal ideas that I have to sell all the time across the board, both, to people in national departments. Laterally, I have to sell things. Upwardly, I have to sell things. I have to take ideas, I have to like work with people and like helping them sell their ideas. I work a lot like with independent contributors who want to go into new departments. Like I work with them on like how to sell like their work to other people. Like, it's like sales at the root of everything. And
sales is, yeah.
It really is. And it doesn't have to be a dirty word, right? It's just the most like sales to me is just, I'm aligning our interests in a way that you might not yet know that is the best for you yet. Mm-hmm. And it may not be. So I either want to figure out if our interests are worth aligning or not as soon as possible and add value at every step of the way as I do it.
Nice. Yeah. I tend to agree with that. I think that in sales, sometimes we know that we need to buy something and we know what our pain point is that we're trying to solve. And other times we're not. We're like, I didn't even know you could do that. Like when you were talking about some of the LinkedIn automation, some people are like, no bots. That's gross. I'll get kicked off LinkedIn. Other people might listen to that and say, wow, I'd love to automate my whole LinkedIn process. And if I get kicked off LinkedIn, well, I guess that's one of the risks.
By the way, you can like do it below limits where you're not going to get kicked off.
Okay.
Right? And also, here's the thing. And this is the biggest pet peeve I have, right? Like, if you're going to use something like Phantom Buster, right? Like, because everyone's doing it, right? Like, it's like, just be honest, right? Like, here's the thing. If you're going to do stuff like that, at least put a little effort into like nailing the audiences that you're talking to.
Right?
Like, align those interests, right? Like, don't talk to me about like wealth management. Do you know what I mean? Like, what the hell are you doing? Right? Like, I'm clearly like, I'm like 33. I'm like, mid stage of my career. Like, there ain't much wealth to manage, right? Like, what are you doing, right? But someone who's reaching out to me to be like, hey, I work with a lot of early stage companies, or like I work with this accelerator, would love to talk to you, or I'm a VC that works in B2B and like would just love to bend your ear and some stuff. Like those types of outreach, even if they're cold, or even if I like, there was recently like I got like an automated kind of, I could tell it was like kind of automated like from a local videographer here, like in Atlanta, right? And I replied to it because I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I could talk to a local videographer about like some like local media stuff that I want to do.
Yeah.
It was relevant for me. They made it relevant for me. So it's not that automation is the bad thing. It's a tool, and a tool can be used for good or for bad, right? So if people are just being lazy and just like throwing money at the thing and like getting kicked off LinkedIn because everyone's reporting that they're junk, right? Like good, like you know what I mean?
Right. Go build another fake account and try something else.
Go build another fake account, like you know what I mean? But if you're using automation to extend your message that is truly resonating with people and adding value to people's lives, whatever.
Right. So there's some really, really interesting nuggets here. So, we talked about this idea of, laziness, and we're all lazy to a certain extent, and being lazy is good because automation's good. That's the whole minimizing input, maximizing output. That's what technology is all about. But it's about aligning interests, about providing value, being educational, being about the long-term relationship and not for that hard close, selling ourselves, everything is sales, everything is networking, whether we need to find a new job or sell our product or sell something internally, a technology to the CEO,
Right.
These
and like, why not have fun while doing it? Right.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, and then fun. How can I forget about fun?
Yeah, that was you, man. Yeah. And I'm thinking that away from this conversation.
Actually, you know, that little saying. Actually, I actually have to give a shout out to Marvin from Stewart Title, because he actually said that, and I stuck onto that. If it's not fun, it doesn't get done. So I've been saying that. So Marvin, if you're listening to this, I love that, man.
It's so good. And look, if it needs to get done and it's not fun, do the fun stuff and get some juice, right? To like do the other stuff.
Right.
Like, I found a way. I still don't. You know how I did it? Honestly, I had like the best manager of like all time at one point in my career in Compass, who took all my stuff, and I like didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, like at Compass. You know, I was like product manager for the national team. I was like, I didn't want to go into product management, but I didn't want to go into vendor relationships like completely. She's like, oh, you're a solutions architect. And I was like, what's that? And so I researched it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I do.
That's amazing.
I like make that my career. And like solutions architecture to me, like it's so funny when people are like, I hate demo calls, I hate talking to vendors. Right? I don't. It genuinely doesn't make sense to me. Like it's the most fun part. Like I love that. I live for it. Right?
Yeah.
So like me doing what's fun for me, what I'm passionate about at Compass is great for both parties. Right? Because I'm doing stuff that like nope, a lot of people like really don't want to do. But guess what? When it comes time to like, you know, get really knee deep in a spreadsheet or like write an executive summary, you know what I mean? Like I have people that I work with who help me on that front because I'm just like not good at like long form writing content yet. I've gotten a little bit better at it, but it takes so much energy for me. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Hey, that's what video's for. That's what video's for.
Yeah. And just major shout out to you guys. Seriously. Incredible product, incredible timing. Like, I'm just like, I am such a huge fan of like how your Chrome extension makes like the little D button live everywhere. And like, it just easily allows me to like track things and like put messaging. And like, I love how you had the Dubb with like the calendar booking on it, like all on one page, like right from the email. Like, it's just really clean and like really well done. And I'm rooting for you guys. Like, I'm like looking forward to like the more stuff you do. Feature wise, like all of that jazz, and I'm not gonna stop talking about you to startups because anytime a startup goes to me like, how do I talk to new B2B clients or like how do I get more clients? Like, well, how are you talking to them? You know what I mean? Like, why are you using Dubb?
That means a lot to us, man. I mean, I'd love to align with you. You know, we have so many people from Compass that use Dubb. And it's funny because every time they come in, we're like, oh, that's a rogue entrepreneur. Because that's not corporate. Compass doesn't have a corporate thing with us where all their agents are getting access, you know, for a discounted rate or something. They don't have that. These people are like, I've heard about this. I want to use video. So every time I see someone from Compass, I mean, really any real estate agent from a larger corp, I'm like, entrepreneur. Like they are taking risks. They are going and trying new tech.
Are like the OG entrepreneurs. Do you know what I mean? Like they're all for their own business, and like what they do is like it's unbelievable. Like it's so funny. I have just gained so much respect for real estate agents immensely through doing this work. Yeah, they're working. These people are working like 7 days a week. They have no guarantee of income. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's and you know the relationships that foster and be really good at are just so innumerable, and like the ones who are phenomenal at it are just like you would trust them with any part of your business. Like really the ones who can do it all, you know? Like if I said David Basco is willing to work for Dubb in any part of your business, guaranteed that cool, he'll figure it out.
Yeah. It's an attitude. It's an attitude.
Yeah. And I've still, like such a huge amount of respect. So yeah, like this was so awesome. Like I feel like I can talk to you about sales and B2B all day.
Hey, you know what? This is the value of a digital relationship, you know, video of like creating parasocial relationships. Like when I saw you live, I developed a parasocial relationship. And that's what people need to be doing. I mean, at the end of the day, when we talk about B2B sales, we are talking about being a real person and making a long-term connection. And that's what I'm all about, man. So
same.
That's why
I'm looking forward to the evolution of like our, like not only me and Dubb as a company, but like I'm looking forward to like the continuation of our conversation over time. Like,
Yeah,
it's, like every good thing is like it's just the beginning of a conversation. And this is
exactly.
so awesome. Like I'm looking forward to learning more and and growing alongside you as a fellow CEO and like this the project world and like yeah, I love it.
Nice, man. So you are on social, Philip Lakin, propulsionlab.co.
Yep.
And people need to connect with you. You're active on LinkedIn? You mentioned that, so people should go. I'm gonna put your full name in here and your social here, and people should connect with you. And just give us a little drop on where people can find you.
Yeah, so definitely. So Twitter at Philip, LinkedIn Philip Lakin with one L. The guy that works at Compass and Propulsion Lab. You'll find me pretty easily. If you want to learn Propulsion Lab, it's propulsionlab.co. Long story short of what we do, we connect early stage B2B SaaS companies with large, mid-market and enterprise companies that are willing to trade social proof for product, right? So if you don't have any big testimonials or big names on your site yet, we've got over 100 team leads with operational authority in their companies to deploy new SaaS that are willing to try out new product, for discounted or waived fee prices. And try out your product, give you feedback, and put quotes on your site. So it's a really great environment for both sides. We're open, we have applications open for both sides, and super exciting.
Nice. And then in our next convo, I'd like to talk to you about how Dubb can be used to capture video testimonials using our reply with video function that can be used in your social.
Yes. So it's so open to talking about that because one of the things we're thinking is not like video testimonials are massive, and we want to make it very turnkey for our clients to be able to do so. 6,000%.
I'm going to send you a link.
Great. Awesome.
See you, man.
Great. Guys, you see that? That was a 1 hour conversation that led to a 30-second sale.
There you go. Oh, and it wasn't a sale. It was actually a free YouTube video on how to use the free version.
Value. I'm totally messing with you, man. So great talking with you.
Likewise, Philip. See you, my man.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.